we do have a problem with so many adults, not just in Lancashire, but right throughout the country, who decide they want to dump their sack of rubbish or their supermarket trolley into the river.
That's right. I mean, we hold regular river clean-ups. We held one just a few weeks ago down at Greenfields, and that was all for part of Colne in Bloom. You know, I mean, there's nothing more unsightly than a rake of carrier bags hanging in trees, a supermarket trolley in the river, you know, crash barriers that have been thrown in. And this is part of the message that we need to get out, because I'm a working guy, you know, and yes, I like to spend time with my friends and my family as well. But to get down into the river and pull all the rubbish out of there is a great boom. You know, so what we do as part of this, we're holding the regular clean-ups. We're supported by the Environment Agency, the Wild Trout Trust, the Pendleborough Council, so on and so forth. And it's just finding all these people and the contacts to get out there and do this work. I mean, through the Wild Trout Trust, there's the Trout in the Classroom initiatives. Jack Speed's on the Ribble Trust, and Stephen Hattons. These guys are brilliant, you know, and they're working hard to get this understanding. So Paul Gaskell from the Wild Trout Trust, who I believe did an interview a week, maybe two ago, well, Paul's got an initiative where it's the mayfly in the classroom. And it doesn't cost a lot of money for the schools to actually adopt this project, and it helps the youngsters understand the full life cycle of the fly, you know, so they can see the nymphal stages of the fly, they can see the fly hatching, etc., and they get a bigger understanding of the whole project. Part of the other parts of the project are all about bankside revetment work. A lot of our banks are overgrazed now due to poor farming practices, and we've got to get this into the farmer's eyesight as well, and get stock-proof fencing into fields, stop the cattle from coming down, trampling the bankside, widening the river, taking all the diverse populations away. Because obviously the trout that are in our rivers need so many different kinds of water. They need the riffles, they need the deeper pools, they need the shade. So part of this is educating the farmers too. And also then, because the cattle have been allowed down to the riverbanks, and I notice it's going on here on the Ribble too, where the cattle are coming through to the river, they're trampling the banks are then collapsing in the spate. We've got the invasive species of knotweed, Himalayan balsam, etc. So we have Himalayan balsam bashing sessions. Nothing much more fun. You know, in early April when the balsam's just starting to come up, just get out there and just whack it down a bit. And that gives up native species a chance to get in there again. And then the other side of it is introducing things like large woody debris. Through the Wild Trout Trust, from the back of the advisory visit that was done back in 2006, I've just been working with the Environment Agency on getting all the plans in to do river work. Obviously, you've got to fill all the forms in the correct manner, and you put them through to the flood defence teams, and they go through all the different teams at the agency, highly supported by the fisheries. I've really got to say, in the Northwest, I'm very lucky that my fisheries team that look after me up on the Colne have done a heck of a lot of work to help. And so, if I can get these forms through the process, the Wild Trout Trust, through another bursary, I think it may be even through the Esme Fairbairn Foundation, will come along and they'll do what they call a practical visit. And the practical visit's probably worth about £1,800, and all the club will have to stump up is a bit of petrol money, etc. But this will then give club members that want to get involved in this, and not just club members, but, you know, like I said earlier, all the different parts of the community, and it'll bring them together, and we'll all walk away from this having a better river, a lot more knowledge, and to the degree that I said to my boss at work just yesterday that I was going to put this all on the CPD, you know, because it is a continued professional development, maybe not in my line of work, but because it's helping the community. And I think that that's what we really need to do, and for so many fishermen, not just to sit in an armchair watching fishing programmes and going fishing on a Saturday and Sunday, but to actually get out into the countryside, to join these projects, contact us. You know, if anybody wants to contact me, the email address is actually troutinthetown@yahoo.com. You know, and I'll ring any person back. I'll help anybody that wants to get one of these projects going, anywhere in the country.
And also, there's youth groups, there's the Cubs and the Brownies, the Guides and the Scouts. They all like to get involved in these projects, but we need to sort of invite them along and show them what great fun they can have being at the waterside. They don't have to fish. It's fun just doing habitat work.
It is, yeah, and it is finding these people, because you are such a busy lad in your working life as well, and you can very quickly lose the will to live through, you do a day's work and you come home, you sit at the computer, you type in emails, you're answering phone calls, but it's enjoyable. But it is finding these people out there in the community. Myself and one of our other members called Graham Council have recently done the Angling Development Board Level 1 coaching course, and obviously through that we've become CRB cleared, and we need to move on to the Level 2, and that's the knock-on then, that we can get into these groups and really foster these relationships with the groups and bring them into the urban trout. Because they are there, the urban trout are there, and through that we can bring youngsters into angling, giving them a sense of purpose in life. Paul Gaskell just recounted a tale, a very unfortunate tale to me the other week. Paul actually lives down in Sheffield, and he fishes on the River Don, where there's another big project of the trout in the town. It's actually called Sprite, and unfortunately they came across a young man hanging in a tree. Now, for somebody to feel that there's nothing left in life and to go and do that is such a shame. So maybe if we can capture these youngsters before they get to that stage, we've given them a purpose in life, and that will knock on into the life in general, and, we'll all become better citizens from that.
Well, I honestly believe our footballers and cricketers and other sportsmen should be setting a better example. For the simple reason is that people copy them, and if they start doing things, getting caught out drinking and all the rest of it, the youngsters copy them. See, you and I are figures that people look up to, and I think at all times we must set a good example to the youngsters. And this is the brilliant part about angling. Even social service departments up and down the country now are realising angling's a great thing for children that have got problems at home. They're in children's homes. Let's take them fishing. The police up and down the country, the army in Lancashire, based at Burnley, working with the Lancashire Constabulary, working together, taking groups of kids fishing, and it's working. It is.
I mean, a few weeks ago, my good friend Charles Jardine, Charles is actually doing a lot of work with the Countryside Alliance, and it's a project called Fishing in Schools. And Charles asked me if I could help him out, so I took a couple of days leave from work. I met up with Charles over in Keighley, and we went to a school called Greenhead High School. Now, the kids that came onto the project, some had learning disabilities, some had physical disabilities, and so the first day was in the classroom getting an understanding about the trout, and also the life cycles of the river. On day 2, we actually went to a local fishery, and the kids had a really fantastic time. And I really need to thank Bernard over at Raygill. Bernard hosted us across there, and the kids had an absolutely fantastic time. It was baking hot. We didn't catch too many fish, but the looks on the faces when they were leaving at the end of the day just said everything to me. And it was a really, really humbling experience for me. To be able to give something back. I'm 48 now, and I've taken a lot from angling over the years. I got plonked in a river in Barrowford as a 4-year-old. I had a fly rod in my hand at that age. I got learned to cast on the local cricket square, and to just give something back. My dad once said to me, when you leave this planet, son, you never want to leave anything other than a footprint. When you go into the countryside, you never leave anything but a footprint. And that knocks on into the urban environment, that we don't want to be putting rubbish into the rivers and sending it down the river to Preston. When I leave this planet, I want to leave a lasting legacy, and I want to hand the baton that I picked up from Derek Pickup, and I want to hand that on to these youngsters that we're bringing into the project now, so that they can become the conservationists of the future and ensure that the brown trout survive.